happy you're here watching this video. If you're trying to figure out about your Brother PE770 or Embrilliance, I wanted to share another start to finish project. I'm doing a jean jacket project that says Miss Little across the back for a bride that I know. But when I was editing it, I realized it was really, really long. And the reason that it's really, really long is because there are a lot of tips and tricks for every stage of the process in the content. And the thing is that the reason I started my YouTube channel in part was because I wanted to support and be an active part of the machine embroidery community. And I want to share with people, and then I hope that you guys feel comfortable enough to connect with me and share with me. And so I don't want to cut out valuable information that is just for the sake of making a video shorter. And I don't want to do that, especially when I could help somebody avoid a preventable error. So because I don't want to cut out valuable information, I'm going to not do a start to finish video, and I'm going to break this up into parts. So each video, I don't know how many parts there are going to be yet, but each video in this process is going to talk about a certain part of the process, and I'm going to just give you all the tips and tricks and information that I have pertaining to this project that are valuable. So this first video is going to include the digital part of that. So that's going to be purchasing the font, installing the font, your digital download, your USB and storage space. Some USBs work, some don't. And then also in this video, because it's going to be roughly like 10 minutes, I could also include the part that is the hooping process, and I talk about tips and tricks to make hooping a little bit easier. And if you see anything that I'm doing and you know a better way, or you've seen something else, drop a comment. I'd love to hear it. I always want to improve myself, and that's kind of why I started doing this, because I want there to be more community on this topic. A lot of people don't share. I will never forget when I first became interested in doing this. I'm very hands-on. I like doing stuff with my hands. I knit and crochet, and I sew, and I really wanted to get into the machine embroidery community. When I first started doing this, I asked somebody a question, and it was someone that I knew, and they just straight up ignored me about it and wouldn't even answer like what kind of machine they had. And I mean, we weren't close friends or anything, but I just thought, like, what for? Why wouldn't you be supportive of like educating yourself in general? I understand that it's people's business, but at the same time, I just feel like that's an unnecessary level. So I just kind of want to break that cycle, and I want to be helpful, and I just want to better this community. So this is the first part of this video, okay? So I chose a design by Designs by Juju. I put it in my cart, proceed to check out. Afterward, it says view and download your order. You scroll down and you do a drop down box under download. There, because it's a font, I select BX files, and you'll see it pop up into my downloads. Then what I'm going to do is open Embrilliance, and while Embrilliance is open, then open your downloads, and this is how you upload the font. Select the size, and then it will install the entire font so you don't have to drag each letter. It typically takes a minute for the font to show up, so what I'm going to do is go and take the font out of my downloads and put it on my USB. I store all my downloaded files on my USB because it will clog up my computer fast, and then I can delete it from my downloads. Then I go back to Embrilliance, select the A for font. I'm going to go ahead and write the first word that I want to do and click set so I can see what it looks like. Go on font and scroll down until I see the font. And you can see it there. Then I'm just going to arrange it to the middle. Next, I'm going to hit New File, And I'm going to hit the letter A again, type in the second word. Like I said, I'm going to do this in 2 different files because I don't think it will fit the way I want it to if I try and squeeze it into one file. So I find the font again and set it. Then I'm going to go to File, Save, Working, and Stitch. You see it says PES file there. I'm going to type in Lily 2, save, and then go to the first file and do the same thing. At this point, just to be safe than sorry, I open Finder back up, go to my USB, and just make sure that those files are on there, which you can see that they are. Then I'm just going to pop back into Finder once I know everything is good to go, and I'm going to eject my USB disk. And you see that it disappears there, knowing that you can take out your USB now. I choose to leave Embrilliance open, especially if a project has multiple steps, but now you are ready to set up your hoop. So I place my jacket flat. Then I just like to put tape where I'd like the words to ideally be. I used a measuring tape to find the center and I marked it with a pen. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my stabilizer. I use a thick stabilizer. It is not adhesive. I use a spray adhesive, or I don't use an adhesive and just try and hoop it tightly. So I'm going to do one of these. This is my 5x7 hoop. Just going to see how long, and I'm actually going to cut 2 pieces because I'm going to do them as separate files. So 1 piece and then second. Like you saw, I saved Miss and Little as 2 separate files, so that's 2 separate projects because of the distance that I want them to be spaced at. That's it for that. I think I should do Little across the back first so I can see exactly where I want to position the miss. I want it to be like kind of an angle miss, and then Little be straight across. So since I have it pinned exactly where the middle is and where I want it to be, I think I'm going to do the Little first, and then based on how that stitches out, I will do the miss second. So I have my tape here and my pin for what the middle is. Something that I always do to make this a little bit easier, whatever way it wants to fold, because it comes on a roll, I fold it in half the opposite way and just put a crease, and then I fold it in half this way, put a crease, and then I actually take the corners and do a little crease in opposite corner, and that helps it flatten out just a little bit. I'm gonna take my hoop apart, and I know when you're first starting, the hoop can get confusing, so you just wanna remember your notches need to be face down so that you don't wanna hoop it like this, or it's in order when you click it on, you're gonna be like, oh man, my item is upside down. So make sure your notches, the opening, are faced down on that. So when it clicks in, the part that's going to be stitched on is up top. So this is gonna go underneath, and I want this to be the center. I'm going to loosen this. Turning away from the hoop loosens, and turning towards the hoop tightens. And the reason that I like to have this straight is because if you have something that tends to fold up into this, which is my other piece, and then you start trying to center your hoop underneath here, and then keep this flat, the way this comes in the roll, this is barely bigger than the hoop. Yeah, so you really have to make sure that that's straight, because if it's like this, then your piece is not going to be stable. So anything you can do to make setting that easier is going to help you in the long run. So what I'm going to do is just lay this on top of my hoop and then hold it in place right there. I know it's around each side, and then lift this up and move it to about where I want it, and then I can slide it with my hands underneath from there. The biggest advice I can give you is to be patient with the hooping process. If you decide that you're just fed up with it and you're just going to do it how it is, that's going to lead to the most problems. So take the time to just get it exactly how you want it. It will help you a lot. This is going to come in here. So when I start to put this in, I can see this line is a little bit high and a little bit crooked. So that lets me know that I want to reach under here and bring the left side up a little bit. Okay, that's better. Okay, so right there is where I'm gonna want it. I am going to take this tape off, and I am going to cut this, which is a water-soluble stabilizer. It's very thin. This is for on top, and what this is going to do is keep the needle from picking the clothes or the fabric. By wedging the fabric in between this stabilizer and the other stabilizer, the needle can move through a lot more easily. So especially if you're doing towels or knit fabrics, I would suggest definitely using this. And then I'm going to push it into one side and then press down into this other side. And it's tight. And then I'm going to press down here, but with my wrist to keep this in place, and these fingers press down, but have these fingers pull the stabilizer tight. So use these fingers to press down, just to pull, and just go around and make sure that it's tight. Then I'm gonna go underneath and twist the knob towards the hoop just to tighten and have it as stabilized as possible. All right, so I'm ready to do the little, and then hopefully you can see this placement here. I'm just hoping that wherever I place it, the hoop is not going to interfere with what I've already done, because you really don't want a hoop, have your border hoop be on top of embroidery. And this is the back. You see how there's not much left on either side, and that is why it can be difficult to hoop things, because of the way the paper comes. So my notches are down right here, and I'm going to move the machine.